All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS PrizePicks Taco Tuesday video. We did just get a taco drop. That's going to be Mikal Bridges over 21.5 points. And we'll touch that one here. And so looking at the odds that we're getting, DraftKings Sportsbook, just using that's all we really need to do. We can see they originally had the line set at 25.5. Slightly favoring the under. I don't think we really need to worry about that. All in all, Mikal Bridges should be able to get the over here. It's a good matchup going against OKC. Nothing really to worry here. The thing that makes me mad here, and this is what happened with the original first taco prop as well, is that Darius Garland was one of the better props that we had this morning at 21.5 points for the over in that. And then they gave us a Donovan Mitchell points prop. I'm like, what are we doing here? So that was a little bit painful. That being said, I thought Spencer Dinwiddie's prop, fantasy point-wise, would be one of the best props that we were getting as well. Now we get this. So we can't really double-dip the chip. I mean, you could, but I don't exactly like doing that. So we do have a lot of comments coming in as well. Let's just touch on those real quick. Yeah, let's get it. Let's have a good one. Brian says locks only. We'll get there. You know I never like to say the lock word. I feel like it encourages bad behavior. I don't want to do that. We're going to go through the process here. Same thing here. Who are we picking? Going to go through the process here, guys. I will start with some college basketball bets and some NHL props that we're getting good odds on. And then I'm going to go through and kind of compare Underdog to PrizePicks because I feel like that's a very good process. And we can kind of find the best bets. Yeah, we got it's weird. Got lucky with this. And like we look at yesterday with Brook Lopez, where I was kind of like, all right, we can stack the Bucks potentially. And if Giannis sits, we are sitting pretty with that stack. Kind of said, Brook Lopez can get there either way. Kind of got lucky that Brook was able to get there, but definitely got lucky with Donovan Mitchell being ruled out and going with Garland there. Josh Giddey, first half points. You know what? Let's just check that one out. See, I never, you guys probably know this by now, but I never like to do really first half points or really any bet like that. Just in games that are not blowouts. And so I'd assume this game isn't too bad. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, I don't know if I see that. He definitely does get a bump with SGA on the court. He actually scores a little bit more, gets a little bit more fantasy points. So, yeah, I don't know if I really like that one. But, hey, if you like it, perfectly fine with that. Richard Best, probably. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just touch on the previous ones. I'll try to get into the comments. I remember last live stream, I was struggling to catch up just from that stuff. But looking at, guys, I do still think some of the props that we are getting here, fantasy score-wise, we got Nick Richards and PJ Washington at 27.5. Personally, I kind of like both of them. And even Kelly Oubre as well. Like, this is going to be a high-scoring game. If we just look at the usage rates and just kind of the production with LaMelo Ball off the court, Mason Plumlee, who obviously is not there anymore, but I feel like it's a good sample size to include that because obviously we're going to be without Mark Williams as well. So trying to see what that sample size is to see with Nick Richards and also PJ Washington. So looking at it, they obviously all are going to get a big bump. PJ Washington does get the biggest bump in usage of about 7.6%. And if we look at it, he does average about 4.5 more points, fantasy points per 36 with him off the court. Okay, so like he's been getting there. It's like no shock that he's been getting there. The issue is going to be the matchup with Cleveland. Like even with Jared Allen out, it still is going to be a more difficult matchup. Then if we look at Nick Richards, doesn't get that big of a usage bump, only about 1 point, and only gets about 1.7 more fantasy points per 36. And so the biggest question would be, are they going to get 36 minutes? And well, let's check that out. And I guess while we're here, we have Terry Rozier pulled up. I'll touch on this right now just because I have it pulled up. Same team and whatnot. Terry Rozier's fantasy points goes up about 1.7 per 36 with Ball off the court, with Plumlee off the court, and with Mark Williams off the court. Averages about 4 more usage percent. So a little bit more. So his total usage rate would be 30%. So it's up from 26%. But looking at it, this is very interesting. So I've been trying to do kind of taking the odds from his projected points, rebounds, assists, steals, all that stuff, and putting it into kind of a average. It's not the best. It's not perfect. Kind of is what it is. But if we were to do that formula out for PrizePicks, we would see that they would have him projected to score 36.15. PrizePicks line has it set at 37, and the projection is 35.6. So this is going to be my long way of saying that if we look at on Underdog, and we are seeing some huge differences here, and that's why I like doing this, guys, is that we can see on Underdog, Terry Rozier's prop line is set at 39.45. We can kind of clearly see that one of these two are wrong, right? Like it's either going to be PrizePicks or Underdog. One of these two are wrong. Because Terry Rozier on PrizePicks is set at 37. So if you want to bet the under for Terry Rozier or the over for Terry Rozier, you do that on PrizePicks. And obviously he's been going off lately. He could easily still do that. Does average 37.5 fantasy points per 36. So the biggest question I have here would be, what are his minutes? And so let's see. 35.14. And so let's compare that against his last game against them. 39 minutes. That's a very close game. So as long as it does stay close, as long as this projection here for this game stays close, and obviously with Mitch off the court, that helps, then I kind of like all the Charlotte players. But that was one I wanted to pull out. That was a big discrepancy that I saw between Underdog and PrizePicks. So if you want to bet the over, please do it on PrizePicks. Obviously, this is Taco Tuesday. We're trying to find the best bets to pair with our tacos, but at the same time, I know there are a lot of people that play both. We could bet the under here and then also the over here, and maybe they both hit. So now, looking at both Nick Richards and PJ Washington, the issue that I have is that they are both bigs. It's tough for them to both coincide. Now, they easily could, like they did in the previous game, but at the same time, does worry me a little bit. I think part of the reason why Nick Richards got as good of a game as he had was because Kia Jones got into foul trouble, fouled out. And also Evan Mobley got into foul trouble in the first half. That meant a little bit easier run for Nick Richards in that first half. So just something interesting there. I know a lot of people in the comments like this one. I'm not saying I dislike it either. Pretty decent. And let's just pull up his game log. Like, he is someone that has been playing well, has been getting those minutes. I don't think those minutes are going to change with Mark Williams and with Plumlee off. He gets the most minutes by far. So if we can lock in around 30 minutes, we should be good. And so let me pull up his minutes here. So projected to get 30 still. Okay, so we can kind of see a little bit of a peak and valley there. You guys know I don't exactly like seeing the peaks and valleys there. I kind of want to see a consistent number across the board, but we can see all of them are pretty much suggesting they should be over. So not terrible there. And then looking at PJ Washington, and just for what it's worth, like if we were to combine the under odds for Nick Richards, it would suggest that we should be betting the under for what it's worth. And then just looking at PJ Washington. So if we took all of his prop lines and made a projection based off of that, the average sportsbook line would have him projected to get 33.59 fantasy points tonight. PrizePicks line has it set at 27.5. For what reason? I've echoed this a lot. I don't really get it, but at the same time, they're bound to be right eventually, okay? It just doesn't seem like it's been adjusted for really Mason Plumlee off the court. It's just something strange to me that he just consistently keeps dominating and consistently not getting a bump really too much. He actually got a price decrease in terms of fantasy points. So very interesting stuff there. And so that is something I think we could potentially still chase. The issue is we got two bigs and they could get into foul trouble against Mobley. Now, I know a lot of people last video where like Evan Mobley is at an all-time high for fantasy points. No one wanted to touch him. I'm like, okay, that's great. Good information. And so now we actually get him at 2 points higher than that, at 44.5. So I'm actually curious in the comments, guys, what are our thoughts on Evan Mobley with obviously Donovan Mitchell and with Jared Allen off the court? Now he does get the most minutes, but he only averages 43.2 fantasy points per 36. And so he did get into foul trouble last game in the first half. Then he was fine. Then he really dominated in the second half. Obviously gets a great matchup still. But I'm very curious as to what your guys' thoughts are. Didn't have any blocks either. You kind of expect him to get some blocks. If he gets 2, which he typically averages, it's a few more points. It just feels too high. 44 seems too high. It seems like they're trying to say that he's going to do substantially better because Donovan Mitchell's off the court. Or maybe they're just expecting the game to stay closer. Thus, he gets a little bit more run. It's just very interesting that today it's 2 points higher than what it was in the previous game. And he really wasn't close to getting the over in that game. So definitely interesting there. Ooh, this is pretty interesting. Let's see here. What's the best prop with this? I haven't really looked into Underdog too much. That's very interesting. I would say right now would be under for Terry Rozier. I just don't love that. But we're getting into it. A lot of people like Giddey first half points and Giddey free throws. That's very interesting. Let's just take a look at Josh Giddey's projections for the day. Put all the props in there right now. See points. Okay, so looking at it right now, projected to get 13.5 on the slate. Okay. Average sportsbook line does have it set at 16. Is slightly favoring the over for the average sportsbook odds. So I know he does a little bit better with SGA on the court. But let's see the first half points again. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't feel like a lock, like everyone's saying lock. Let's just see. 8.5. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a lock to me. I think I'd rather do something like first half points, rebounds, and assists if you're trying to chase a first half one. Or even fantasy score. I think that'd be the approach I would rather go with. I really don't mind the idea of running out a stack with this, though. FYI, like I think that can work. I think there's 2 games that we can stack now. Cleveland versus Charlotte. Charlotte seems to be a little bit too low for really all their props. And then we could also do Brooklyn versus OKC. I kind of like that one as well. Brooklyn just always seems to be a little bit too low. Pascal under points, trap or lock. Let's see. Definitely not a lock. Favoring the over there. Okay. Price, the average line is at 21.5. PrizePicks has it set at 21.5. Projected to get 22.4. So neither. Not a lock, not a trap. It's an okay bet. Now you said under, so I guess more on the trap side if you're trying to bet the under there. Can we examine the taco? So yeah, just looking at the taco again here. The taco is pretty easy. So like we just kind of we're always betting the taco. We're going to bet the over. Okay. Looking at the average sportsbook line and just looking at DraftKings instead, actually, we can see they had set at 25.5. And so, yes, they were slightly favoring the under, but like we're just going to go with it. Like we feel pretty good about that. So let's just talk about some props that we compare with, and then I'll get back into kind of breaking down the best fantasy score props with Underdog. And we'll touch on that more and more as the video goes on. But let me just touch on some NHL props that we compare with this. There was really one. And Jack Hughes was one that really popped up earlier today. for about 30 minutes, and that one went away now. But the best one that we're getting right now, and I don't like it still, would be Chris over 2.5 shots on goal. So the average sportsbook line has it set at about minus 150. I want to look at DraftKings Sportsbook here to see what they have their line set at right now. Because earlier, it wasn't as strong as I would have liked. They actually dropped it from the original line that they had set at. Okay, so it is still at minus 135. An okay prop. Like, I'm fine with that one. And I just want to point out one other one as well. This is a very interesting line here. Okay, because they're favoring the over here. Oh, it got taken down. Man. That is frustrating. I guess I should have started with that one. I don't think it was a lock. That's why I didn't bring it up right away. But it was in between 2.5 shots on goal for the under, or it was at 1.5 for the over. There was a big discrepancy. There was a full shot discrepancy there to the point in which it should have been set at 2. So definitely didn't feel like a lock. That's why I didn't touch on it. So let's just touch on 2 college basketball props here real quick. I just won, actually. So looking at rebounds, for Caleb Daniels, his over rebounds is set at minus 140. And I know this says NBA bets, whatever. This is literally the only good college basketball bet that we are getting currently at the moment. And we can see, 4 out of his past 5 games has gone the over. So purely just based off of the odds and over his last, 5-game sample, we can see this is a decent bet. Literally the best odd bet that I could find on the day prior to starting this video. So if you guys want to roll with that, you can. But now I want to get back into the process of really finding the best one. So I'm going to go through this whole segment, guys, try to catch up with the questions as they come in. If you guys want to chat in the comment section about some of your favorite props, by all means, we are all trying to win together. I'm perfectly fine with that. Just keep it constructive, keep it positive. Perfectly fine with that. And then we got some sharp people. I know that. I've seen that in the comment section. I've seen that in the chat as well. So definitely fine with that. Looking at Bradley Beal, I just want to point a few of these out. So on PrizePicks, his line is set at 43.5. Okay. We go to Underdog. We see that his line is set at 45.25. This is a big difference again. So let's go ahead and find out what his actual fantasy projection is and see where we can find an edge there, or if there is an edge there. Guys, I do, just real quickly, I do have a section here ready to go for the best bets to pair with the tacos. As we're going through the video, as we kind of figure that out, I'm going to be putting it here. I'm going to come back to this board throughout the video, just as an FYI. So we do have that board as well. Just want to call that out. But looking at it, okay, so once again, if we were to take in the average sportsbook lines that we have for points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, turnovers, all that stuff, and make it into a projection, we can see we are seeing some continuity between both, okay? But he's slightly projected to get less because this is based off of his average. Now, what's the difference with today? Well, today, Washington is going to be without Kyle Kuzma. And so let's look if there's a difference for Bradley Beal. He does average about 6.4 more points per 36, and we can see he's around 36 minutes or so, 35. Usage rate goes up about 5.5%. So his per 36 total is about 33% for usage rate and about 44.6 fantasy points per 36. So I would say that the projection probably should be a little bit higher, and it probably should be right around 43. So if we wanted to, I would say we could bet the over here. And obviously against Detroit, that's going to be a pretty good matchup, a matchup that he just went for 52 against. And the thing with Beal is like, he has kind of just been due for this kind of run that he's been having lately prior to Philly. And Philly's a tough matchup, but he has been going off lately. And it's really kind of just refreshing to see. The biggest issue that we would have with the matchup with Detroit would be, is this game projected to stay close? It isn't. Washington's favored by 13 because Detroit is extremely banged up. And we'll get into Detroit as well because I'm really hoping that we get Jalen Duren. I want to get that prop. I'm hoping we get a prop on Jalen Duren because it feels like it'd be a good one. And then just sticking with that game, we also have Porzingis as well. Not a big difference in his projection, so I won't touch on this one too much. $43.5 fantasy points here on PrizePicks. If you go to Underdog, and see it's at 44.5. So a full point edge there. I mean, these are pretty big edges that we're getting on the slate. So if we look at his per 36 numbers, they are pretty crazy. About 49.3 fantasy points per 36 with Kyle Kuzma off the court. So the biggest question we have is he going to get those minutes? That's interesting here. So based off of the average sportsbook odds that we're getting here, his projection should be 46. I could see potentially betting the over here. Mostly does feel like a stay away. If we were to bet on it, I think we'd either bet the over on PrizePicks or the under on Underdog. And now we just have a few more guys that we need to touch on because they are big differences in the prop lines. And to me, there's a big edge there, whether you guys play on both Underdog or just PrizePicks. Like, we don't really see these big differences individually on individual props. Like if we're doing points and rebounds, points and assists, or just, any one of those individually, we're not getting those big differences. Whereas right now with the fantasy props, we are seeing big differences. And to me, that's kind of a big edge. That's really all we ever try to do is find these big edges. And we have that with the fantasy props points. Okay, I hope my internet's not being mad at me right now for having too many stuff going right now. We'll see. But looking at Fred VanVleet here, I believe this is still up. It is. All right. So Fred VanVleet's fantasy score on Underdog is set at 40.05. Okay, that does make sense against Denver. I'm fine with that. Now, if you pull it up on Underdog, we can see 38.5. Seems really low, especially when he just went off against Denver for 44.2. So another just very interesting line there. These are all ones that we're seeing big differences. Like I'd almost be fine with betting the unders for these on Underdog and then betting the overs on PrizePicks because some of these are 2 points. Some of these are 1 point. Like we don't see that. These are really crazy. Like yesterday was flip-flop, or 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday. Yesterday was flip-flopped where Underdog seemed to be a little bit too low and PrizePicks was a little bit too high. Now, this is another one that I'm very interested in as well. Anthony Davis going against the Pelicans, his former team, whatever. That's a long time ago. I don't think that's even worth mentioning. But 51.5. Okay, we can see, sure, the last 2 games just missed against New York. Toronto had an off game. He's due to have an off game. And part of the reason why was because, well, Russell went off. And so D'Angelo Russell could go off again. And I actually don't mind him as an over bet for fantasy points as well. But we can see AD just had, I wouldn't even say it was a bad game. He just, had a bunch of blocks, had some rebounds, only had 8 points in that game against Toronto. It's not too alarming to me. Like I'm fine with him having that game. That happens. Last time out against the Pelicans, though, he did go off. 28 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Like just went off against them. Okay, so this is one in which we look at Underdog. They seem to be overvaluing him slightly, although based off of the projections that we're getting, both seems to be a little bit too low. I would say just given the fact that the last 2 games that he hasn't gone over, I feel like he's kind of due to go over. And so looking at it, yes, the average sportsbook odds, once again, if we combine these all together, they're saying minus 146, but to be under 59.34 fantasy points. Okay, we can see slightly projected to get over that. Now, once again, if we were to pull in the per 36 numbers, he averages way over that with LeBron off the court. And so we can see it is a very kind of tight line, but at the same time, I feel like he's due to get over that. If you guys are disagreeing about the over on PrizePicks, you could then bet the under on Underdog. That's the point of this process. That's the point of pointing out these big differences that we're getting. And now 2 more guys, and then I'll get back into the comments, and I'll touch on really kind of my personal favorites on the day. But I think this process is definitely worthwhile. I think we can really find big edges on the slate by going through looking at these individually. So we are actually going to be looking at Mikal Bridges for his fantasy score as well. Obviously, we'd use this with the afternoon taco. Looking at it, he is someone that the sportsbooks are favoring him to go over and him to go over 40 fantasy points. Once again, this Brooklyn team, they all are a little bit too low because they all are pretty good. Now, Nick Claxton was someone that I was looking at earlier. They gave him a 1 bump in his fantasy projection. Probably staying away from that now. You could even still play him. It's not terrible, but looking at it, Mikal Bridges is going to be projected lower. That's the issue with Brooklyn right now, is that most of their roster was on a different team prior to this, where they're the secondary options. They weren't kind of coexisting with players. Look at Spencer Dinwiddie, obviously with Luka, Bridges with Paul and Booker, more just Booker, and a little bit of Aiden as well. DFS as well. And then Nick Claxton, who was kind of a star a little bit while everyone was out. Now he's kind of coexisting as well, but they're all kind of working together. It's just there's a lack of, I guess, consistency with all of them going off at once, which obviously there should be. But looking at this, we can see the line on PrizePicks is set at 39.5. Maybe this is a way for someone to hedge, where you go with the taco on PrizePicks over points, which we should be doing, and then maybe we just do lower on Underdog. I don't mind that. I don't love that either. He is someone I expect to have a good game. And just like, let's examine the Brooklyn Nets players a little bit further here. Like, this game is a very highly appealing game to me as a whole. Okay, Bridges, the minutes have been there. That's the big thing. It's like these minutes have been there. 38, 46 OT game, 36, 41, 43. Like, if the games are staying close, which we are seeing is projected to stay close, then Bridges is getting minutes. And if he's getting those minutes, it's tough not to see him doing well. It's tough not to see him getting to, 39.5 fantasy points is a lot, but it's almost tough to see him not getting there. Obviously, if he doesn't get there, who's going to be the reason why? Well, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's also been going off recently. I know his performance has been getting kind of overshadowed by Bridges playing extremely well, but 5 straight games in which Spencer Dinwiddie has went off on a point per minute basis. So if the game stays close and he gets those minutes, he's still highly appealing to me as a fantasy prop as well. Once again, I'll touch on that in just a second. Because on the flip side of that, we got SGA in this game as well. So SGA, very interesting prop as well. Let me pull that up. So his fantasy score on Underdog, 49.15. This is the only one in which we're getting is actually lower on Underdog than it is on PrizePicks. So it's kind of the one in which, if we wanted to bet the over, we'd probably bet it on Underdog. And so looking at the fantasy score here, pretty much a consistent line. He is slightly favored to get under. And I'm actually curious about your guys' thoughts. If you guys want to talk about this in the comment section below. Is Brooklyn a good defense? Because on paper, they really should be with the players that they have. So if they are, I could see that actually hurting SGA. And that could be a bet that we make. And if we're doing that, if we're betting SGA under, then we're probably betting Jalen Williams over. We're probably betting Josh Giddey over as well. So just an interesting thought there. We can see is slightly projected to get under as well. So that'd be one in which if we were trying to make that bet on PrizePicks, we could make it on the under for PrizePicks. All right. So let me get into the comment sections and then we'll really be, I mean, we already dove down into it, but we're going to be highlighting like really the top bets that we're getting on the slate. Just looking at the odds. So let me just look at some questions here while I get this set up. And I want to see, did we get any Detroit props just yet too? I want Dern. Really wish I would have been live yesterday because I could have really echoed the fact that I want to be on Hardy and Green and Duran a lot more. Also want to be on Isaiah Jackson, so he missed. But Killian Hayes assist. So 24 minutes ago, trying to catch up, guys. Let's see if I can go rapid pace. I know I always fail at doing this, but let's see. They just bumped that up to 8. I don't know. I don't really like touching these when they're even push at this. I mean, it won't be shocking to see him get over. They should be playing a lot, right? Like the starters for Detroit are going to be, well, most likely Hayes, RJ Hampton, Magruder, Eugene, and James Wiseman. And let's just look at the minutes that these guys got last game. And that's going to be part of the worry as well. Their minutes last night. Are they going to get more run or did they get less run because they knew they had a back-to-back? Like Hayes went off in 29 minutes. I would say like I would almost rather bet him. Let's see what his fantasy score is. Maybe not fantasy score. Points and assists. Let's see what that's at. I mean, he's going to be chucking. No, I guess I don't really love it. I don't know. I know he's going to get a lot of run. Like they have to get run, right? Man. It feels like we'd be forcing it. Like if you're seeing a big edge there with that and you want to roll with it, I'm fine. But really the ones I want to be betting on are literally Eugene. Let's see what his over is. Like maybe him over rebounds. Like he should get some minutes as big. Maybe points, rebounds, and assists. Do we have a fantasy score? And we don't. Because I don't think these 32 minutes that he got last game were a fluke. And sure, he could foul out. That's going to be the biggest worry. And if that happens, and this is really why I want to get the Jalen Duren props like we had last night, because he is going to be forced into getting minutes. He should get around 25 minutes in this one. And if he does, like I fully expect him to get like 8 rebounds and probably about 12 points. Okay. I really want to get those. And they should be the same as Wiseman. They just haven't been. So let's look at Wiseman. So looking at Wiseman, a lot of people were like wondering about Wiseman last night. Like, hey, can I do points? Can I do rebounds? And I'm like, sure, we can do those. But at the same time, I do worry about his minutes. And the minutes were capped. And he didn't get into foul trouble. They need to play minutes. Like, it's going to be weird, but like, I think we could see Duren and Wiseman on the court at the same time. And if that's happening, like, they should get around 30 minutes just with how banged up they are, especially in a matchup with Washington. It's an appealing matchup. So I do see a path in which we could bet maybe over points, rebounds, and assists, maybe even fantasy score here if we're getting it. Let's see. We are. I probably would do that with Wiseman over fantasy score, but worried about the minutes. Middleton out. Dang, I missed that. Okay, so very interesting there. Do you like Giddey fantasy score? I do like Giddey fantasy score. I think if we're betting on Josh Giddey, I think I'd rather do fantasy score, especially in this type of game. It just seems like the correct move. I did really like Jalen Williams as well earlier at 29.5. They bumped it up one here. Still not terrible. Still should be able to get there. Like Alexei's out. He stepped up big. He's the only one that's really getting consistent, trusted minutes. But yeah, if this game stays close, I do think Josh Giddey can get there fantasy score wise. Does feel like a game that would be good for him. So Chris Middleton is out. Let's see. Do they probably don't have the Bucks props up just yet? No, they don't. But what does that mean? Probably means that Bobby Portis is going to get a little bit of run. Probably means that Grayson Allen's going to be fine, but it's really going to mean the backups are going to get more run. That's pretty much it. Obviously, some usage is going to be open up to kind of the secondary unit that he's kind of been commanding. Now, I know he started last game, but I don't think we're going to see too much change in terms of like Brook Lopez going off, in terms of Giannis going off. Like those players their projections really shouldn't change too much. All right, so oh yeah, going back to Mobley, probably no on Mobley. Yeah, I think Garland's fine. Yeah, so this is going back to the Mobley question I had earlier. It's just such a high prop line, right? Like he could have a great game and put up. Well, he did put up 52 and 50 against Boston and Charlotte. Are we expecting that? If he's going off like that, does the game stay close for that long enough? That's my biggest question. Cleveland players have burned me. Yeah. The issue with Cleveland is literally the fact that Cleveland, they kind of go 4 deep, between obviously the two guards and two bigs. It is more of a guessing game sometime. Yeah. That's what I thought last game too. And then he got into foul trouble. All right, so let's catch up. Yeah, so someone asked about Jalen Williams' fantasy score 25 minutes ago. I apologize, guys. Try to go as quick as possible. But yeah, so I don't mind fantasy score for him as well. It's not a terrible one. I wish it was still as low as it was earlier, but it's still a fine prop. All right, let's see here. Trying to catch up. How do you feel about Jakob Poeltl? I feel like it's right now. We had that good 2-week stretch in there, or maybe 10-day stretch in there, if you will, where he wasn't getting propped correctly. And now they're getting it right. Against Denver, obviously, the last game went off against them, 38.5 PrizePicks points, but it feels right. I feel like if we were going to chase, that recent production that we've had, I think it would be PJ Washington. I think it would be Jalen Williams. So like looking at PJ Washington again, he has been someone that really just, it feels like they're trying to trap us into this. They're like, all right, we are going to price him down for you guys, and we know something you guys don't, and he's going to get the under. Because this line being the same as Nick Richards doesn't make sense. I'm fine continuing to roll with that. And I'm actually fine with Collins as well, as long as the Spurs injury situation hasn't changed. So Nick Collins has just been going off. He would have got there against Denver as well. 31.5 fantasy points just simply seems too low. And so yeah, Jeremy Sochan and Keldon Johnson are both currently game time decisions. Now, personally, I expect them to play, but if they sit, that's only going to help him. And let's see this game. Is it a blowout? It shouldn't be against the Magic. It's not. Okay, and a decently high-scoring game. So let's see this here. I want to see the minutes from last game for Zach Collins because it wasn't crazy. Yeah, it was 30. I think if he gets 30 minutes like he has been, like consistently getting that, he should be able to get the over against Orlando. Like this isn't a terribly tough matchup. So I'd be fine doing that for Zach Collins as well. The issue is like rolling with players that, have really helped us over the past week or 2 weeks is eventually they're going to burn us. And I just don't want that to happen on the same night. D'Lo points. I'm fine with D'Lo points. Oh, Grayson Allen's out as well. Oh, so Pat Connaughton, a little bit of a bump then. It's probably the biggest thing. Joe Ingles, maybe gets a couple more three balls up. Interesting. I would say Bobby Portis is the biggest player that benefits. So Drake Batherson, I did see this one today. I didn't love it personally, but I'm fine with that. Okay, yeah, I'm actually very curious. So, okay, we got some Batherson one coming in. I don't mind the over for him, and I'll just pull this up here. And this could have changed as well while I was going live. Let's see here. Yeah, minus 135. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. It's just I wanted to with NHL. I've really been focused on minus 140 or better, and so I don't mind it. So that's going back to this question. I'm actually very curious. I see these free throw props pop up a lot as like the best percentage edge that you're getting on a site just based off of projections because it makes sense. All it takes is a good free throw shooter getting to the foul line once, right, and making two. Do people have success with that? I haven't really messed around with those too much because to me, I want props that have as little variables going into them as possible. And to me, that's like you're banking on, getting fouled and going to the free throw line. Yeah, so with Jakob Poeltl, I mean, I don't hate it. Just I wish it was literally 1 point lower, and then I'd feel fine with it. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, Mobley still got the minutes here over 11.5. I would say that's about right. And let's just look at some of the props that we're getting, and then I'll try to catch up on the questions again. So looking at like the individual props that we're getting, taking out fantasy score. And this is from when I started going live, so about 40 minutes ago. So these could have adjusted. But the best one that we're getting on paper would actually be Porzingis over 2.5 assists. This is at over minus 134. And he's projected at 3.78. And so I'm actually curious. Let's pull up Porzingis. Why is that one popping up? It seems weird that this would be a good one. I know it gets a great matchup. It's probably the matchup with Detroit. Looking at it with Kyle Kuzma off the court, does average 3.3 assists per 36. And so let's see his minutes again. I think it was 35, 33.6. See, I guess we could see the over there. It's not terrible. I think that it's popping enough. I think we could put that in this section. So let's go ahead and write up a couple more here. Let me just type these up. You guys might get me with the Josh Giddey one. I mean, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I don't love it. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. All right. So that's kind of the updated ones that I'm looking at as it sits right now. And then we'll keep this ball rolling here. So let's try to find some more. DraftKings has been really good about being very tight with their lines. Like Gafford, rebounds. I would have thought it'd be rebounds. It's actually points and assists over 11.5, projected at 13.2, minus 130 for that one to hit. If you look at his per 36 numbers with Kyle Kuzma off the court, it's not great. I mean, does average 16.5 points per 36 and about 1.3 assists, but he's only projected to get 25 minutes. And so that's the thing with him is like lately the minutes haven't been there for Gafford. if we knew he was going to get 30 minutes, I'd feel pretty good about this one because the points would be there, especially in this matchup against Detroit. I feel like the last game against Detroit still only played 25 minutes, and that was a close game. Okay, only had 9 points and assists. So I don't know. That one would feel like we're forcing as well, and it's really been the theme lately is that they have been just doing it. PrizePicks has been doing a good job of keeping up with the boards. So Jalen Williams. Points and assists is actually favored. So I know that his fantasy point projection got bumped up one. So this could be another way to attack it. We can see they are favoring the over at minus 128. Project to get about 10, which is pretty huge. And so average sportsbook line has it set at 7.5. Let's see his minutes real quick. 33. Okay, that makes sense. Once again, that's a game that I think we can get away with stacking. And so just seeing if there's any other ones that pop up. Nothing too crazy. Spencer Dinwiddie. I think Spencer Dinwiddie is just a good play across the board. For the person that did say Evan Mobley earlier, yeah, projected to get over that. So if you wanted to roll with that, you could. They are favoring the over as well at 11.5. So you can roll with that. If that's encouragement that you need, I'm fine with it. Zach Collins, you could do potentially over assists. Like we are getting a decent allotment of over bets. It's just not perfect. I want minus 140 bets, right? And then Gordon Hayward, I really don't trust this one, but it's the best under bet that we're getting on the slate. Minus 135, under 9.5, projected to get 8.79. Like that's not a big difference. And it's not exactly something I want to attack. And then over here, let's see. We still have Banchero out there for points and assist at minus 120 to get over 25. We're getting about a half of a point or assist there, but he's only projected at 24.62, so not enough really to move the needle there. Then some other ones. I know someone mentioned D'Angelo Russell. His points prop line is set at around 21.2 on average across the sports books. Over odds at minus 115, so not a big edge there. And so if we look at his numbers with LeBron off the court, not huge. I think we literally just look at his last two games. And that's kind of the issue with pulling in averages based off of, or pulling in projections based off of averages, is that a lot of trades were made. But let's see. Like he has been chucking 19 and 17 shot attempts. Like I don't mind the over points. And let's just look at this game again real quick. It's a close game. Not too high scoring, but nothing that I would want to stay away from. So I don't mind that one as well. Okay, are we getting any other ones that we can find? Let's look at some under bets where they're not matching up. Nothing too crazy there. All right, so now I can finally get caught up to the questions. I feel like I got through the video, got through the points that I want to get through, so let's catch up. Robinson free throws. I don't like the free throws. Let's see here. Yeah, I did see this one actually here. This is a very good call out. This is an NHL one that I had written down. It was an interesting line. It still is if it's still there. So DraftKings has, it should be 2 is pretty much what we're seeing. DraftKings has the under set at minus 135 for under 2.5 shots on goal. And actually, let's see if they change this. Okay, they did. So now they have it down to 1.5. So this is a good call out. This is 23 minutes ago. We still have it available. I really don't mind this one. If we were to pull in some other sports books, they'd actually be favoring the over a little bit more. This is one that I had written down. I didn't like it, but since you called out, we're going to go ahead and add that to the other bets as well. Somebody type that in here as well. I like that. Good call out. All right, so now we have that one in there as well. Very good call. I like that. So let's see. Against Boston, Peter said, that's probably why we saw discrepancies earlier on in the day. Let's see here. Wiseman under rebounds. I don't know. I don't know. Like this is why I literally want the Duran prop, because they didn't value it correctly yesterday. Oh, we got some Levert stuff too. Ooh. All right, let's see Levert now. Is he expected to start? Man, I love the sweat of NBA. it's a revolving door like every minute. So Levert is expected to start. And like if this was FanDuel or DraftKings, I'd be like, yeah, he's a great play. Load up on him. He does average. It's because he's a little bit hit or miss is the point. But he does average 16.9 points per 36 with those guys off the court. Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell. And about 32 fantasy points per 36. And so let's just see what we're getting for Levert. Are you kidding me? It's not terrible. You know, he gets a little bit of a bump in usage, about 4%, and about 4.8 more fantasy points per 36 with Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen off the court. I was hoping this would be a little bit lower. Obviously, that's why they propped it that way. So the minutes should still be there. It's just a slight increase in fantasy points should be there as well. Probably a stay away. I was hoping we would get a good one there. I feel like I feel like Rodney is going to be an okay one today, even though it's ugly. I don't like it. They're just going to be forced into so many minutes. It's all right. Let me get back into the questions here and comments. Really the best one that we're getting here, and sorry for getting to this question a little bit too late. It's probably, I don't love it either. It's probably Terry Rozier. I don't know. Because he has been going off lately. It just based off of PrizePicks prop at 37, based off of the projections, it would be lower for Terry Rozier fantasy points here. That's like projection wise, looking at the difference between PrizePicks and Underdog. That's the best prop we're getting on paper. I don't like it because Terry Rozier's been going off lately. He's been hot. But also we got to remember Kelly Oubre was out last game. I wish I could give you a lock. This is a solid one on paper. And then obviously all these other ones that we had already mentioned throughout the video. They are adding Detroit players. All right, that was 23 minutes ago. Looking at Zach Collins. Average, yeah, dude. Zach Collins has been going off. Besides that game in which he really royally hurt us, he's been a stud. When he got ejected, and I think his minutes are pretty much capped at 30. So if he has a poor half, like we could be SOL, but he hasn't. That hasn't happened yet, and so I don't mind that. Man, they bumped up Banchero slightly as well. Still don't mind this for over fantasy points as well with Banchero. Should be able to go off against San Antonio. They've been getting more minutes. I don't mind that as well. Let's see. Are we finally getting any Bucks props? This makes me mad. Guys, it does. With Nick Claxton, I was coming in excited to be like, all right, 33.5. That's too low for Nick Claxton. Let's roll with that. And then they bumped it up, which was unfortunate. All right, so let's see. Trying to get into more. All right, we're getting into some more NHL props. I like it, guys. Let's see what his is. This update? It did. All right, let's add this one in there. I like it. There we go. We got another NHL prop that we can roll with. We're getting 3 that are minus 140 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, and I like to defer to them. It does seem like they're a little bit better than the other ones I'm looking at. So let's go ahead and put this on the write-up as well, or on the little section here. All right. And this is what's awesome, guys. Great job in the chat here today. And that's what I love about doing PrizePicks content. It's like we are literally playing against them. We're not playing against each other. It makes, honestly, the content easier because we're just bouncing ideas off of each other. Yeah, you guys know my thoughts on fantasy first half points. It does seem like people do well with them. I just personally, I don't like doing it. I don't like reducing the sample size. But if you want to roll with it, I'm fine with that. D'Angelo Russell over points or over rebounds and assists. I'm fine with that as well. So King Jackson brings up and I don't know if this is just points. Let's see here for Mobley. I wish you could tease some of the props that are available on PrizePicks. Let's see. You probably meant 44, but I wish we could tease props because there are certain situations in which I think like last night with Hardy and Green, I probably would have like gave them like 2 more fantasy points each and bet the over still. Okay, here's some from Ethan. Ethan's been a stud in the comment section as well, so let's check that out. All right, let's see. Any other ones? Gary Trent props are odd. All right, let's take a look at Gary. Gary Trent's props were odd. I don't know if they're still like that. I did notice midday they were. Let's see if they're still popping up. Scotty Barnes as well. Actually, all of Detroit just has some weird props. Okay, so not popping up right now. Hopefully that got corrected. But let's see. I just really want to look at Detroit as a whole. Not Detroit, Toronto, sorry. So Fred VanVleet, and I think that's just the problem. It's like they go deep. They're a deep roster. Fred VanVleet can go off. OG can go off. They all get a significant amount of minutes. And that's part of it as well. Yeah, Gary Trent's been terrible lately. I haven't really caught that, actually. Is this because of Jakob Poeltl getting run? And they just shifted to a larger unit? Will Barton maybe getting a few minutes mixed in there as well? Obviously, they got Scotty Barnes in there. Scotty Barnes finally playing well. Let's just look at those guys. Okay, so yeah, those are off. Okay. No, it's right here. Here we go. Yeah. This is interesting. Is this a trend that we're seeing here with Gary Trent? That we should be betting the unders? Because the minutes have been down. And I could see it because of Will Barton getting some run and Jakob Poeltl just shifting to a bigger unit. Interesting. Man, Devin Vassell. Yeah, I don't know what to do with Devin Vassell. He should be an easy prop to hit, especially if we get news that Keldon Johnson, and see any news on him? No. See Jeremy Sochan, anything on him? Currently questionable. If those two are ruled out, man, Vassell's been frustrating. 2 for 10. He's just coming back from injury. He's going to not be as good as what he was prior. So actually, I don't mind really any Devin Vassell prop because if we see the Vassell of, I shouldn't say old, but earlier on in the season where he's a highly consistent producer, right? He's coming back from injury, a little bit rusty. Typically takes a couple of games. Well, it's been a couple of games. He should be good to go by now. And the matchup with Orlando isn't a scary one. I don't mind the Devin Vassell props out there, but looking at projections, he's not going to project too well. He's been terrible since he's come back from injury. I guess you could do rebounds, but I would almost want to wait until we get news on Sochan and Keldon Johnson. Trey Murphy. This is interesting. So I did kind of want to bring up the Pelicans because I did get asked that a little bit as well. So we'll start with Trey Murphy. So looking at Trey Murphy, I feel like his props are correct. Oh, and they took this away. Mute point here, but I feel like his props are correct because his numbers, looking at it per 36 wise, suggest that this is right. And I realized I was just on the wrong screen there. I apologize, guys. But his per 36 numbers look correct here. And I don't think we really mess with them too much because they do seem correct. Like averages about 28 points per 36 with Ingram and with Zion off the court. And so it feels right. Like all these feel right for Trey Murphy. I got to ask that a couple times in the comment section. It would just feel like we're forcing it there. I would say, yeah, if you felt like you had a good inclination on Trey Murphy for the over and you just need a little bit of encouragement, I would say that would be the move, would be to do the over. Porzingis assist looks decent. It does look decent. J-Val over rebounds. I don't mind that for J-Val. Let's see here. Oh, this is available on Underdog for, let's see that. Let's see if it's still available for Underdog. They do still have available. Let's take a peek on it. So 2.5 3-pointers made. And let's see, threes. I'm assuming PrizePicks didn't like it, odds-wise. Oh, I mean, that's not terrible. I don't mind that. What you rolling with? This is 21 minutes ago. Apologies here. Regression cuts both ways. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? All right, I'm really trying to get caught up here. It's just, you guys are too awesome. That's the issue here. So let's go to this slide real quick, just so we can see the ones that we're on as it sits right now. So the first two were my favorite ones at the start of the day, really as the day progressed. I still like PJ Washington's points and rebounds, I think is what it was earlier this morning. I don't know. I feel like I have a better feel for fantasy points. But earlier today it was PJ Washington over points and rebounds. We did have Darius Garland earlier today. Nick Richards, 10, really just all of Nick Richards' ones were really popping up. Cam Johnson's points, rebounds, and assists did get updated already today. Banchero's did as well. But these are the ones that we've kind of called out so far. And so remember the goal. We are really just trying to find, or you guys, can come in and take this information, trying to find the 3 best bets that we are getting on the day. I guess the 5 best bets, but we really just are trying to have 3 of those hit. If we have 3 of those hit, and let's just say all the tacos hit, we are going to have a really great day. If 3 of those hit for each taco and only 2 of the tacos hit, well, we're still profiting. If only 5 of our bets hit total on the day, we're breaking even. If we go 5 for 15, we're breaking even, which with the tacos consistently hitting should be in theory easy to do. Last week, it sucked. I've touched on this enough. Went 4. I had 4 last week, which worst taco week I had. 2 weeks prior to that, we hit all of them. So I don't know, Anthony. I am leaning more towards the under for Mobley. At the same time, it just seems like a stay away. Let's see here. We got another NHL prop. Let's see here from Ethan. Let's see. Yeah, this isn't terrible. Minus 135. And let me just look at my other screen here real quick. Hitting control fine, and there being like 5 NHL players with the last name March in it. Yeah, this one's popping up. So average odds across the sportsbook is about minus 155 for the over. So another one that we're getting. And then plus 120 for the under. All right, so let's go ahead and add this one in there. I like this one as well. And this is what's crazy about NHL is that sometimes in the morning we get some really good ones, and some days as the day progresses, we get better ones. It's just strange. All right. So now we have 4. Is it 4 or 3 solid? 3 solid on paper NHL props. Now, you guys can discuss that in the comment section if you guys like them as well, but just some interesting lines that we're getting there. This is fishy. I know I'm late to this. Is that because they're going to give us the Duran prop? The PrizePicks employee that watches my videos is watching it. They're like, all right, we need to give him the Duran prop, but we'll only give it right before lineup lock again. We're going to reduce Wiseman's prop down to 30.5. It's probably because they're not going to give him a lot of minutes. Honestly, like that. That's probably why. I'm assuming this is why. At the same time, should be able to get there. Got there against Washington last time on limited minutes. I believe it was limited minutes. Let's see. And like, who are they going to run out, right? Oh, he had 34 minutes in that game. No, let's hope that happens again. But was Eugene out in that one? No, he played 23 minutes. Was it Duran that was out? One of these two were out, or one of these three, or Duran was out. Okay, that's why he got the minutes. I kind of feel like I don't like doing this, but like if we're trying to pair these with the taco, I really wouldn't hate the idea if we get the Duran prop, which I'm hoping that we do. Watch, we do, and he's just going to get injured in the first half, get into foul trouble, and it's just going to be terrible. I could see doing. Let me just type this in. Potentially, I wish we were getting a fantasy score here. I was going to say points, rebounds, and assists here. Kind of feels like we'd be forcing it there. I don't mind James Wiseman fantasy points. I like that better than Killian Hayes. Then I thought we were getting one for Rodney here as well, but we're not. I guess I want my points. Like someone's going to have to shoot. Like Corey Joseph, currently questionable. I believe he's expected to sit. And that, I guess that'd be the biggest difference maker here. If he sits, then that's going to mean some, let's face it, bad player would have to get a lot of shot attempts again. And he was efficient. 4 for 5 from 3-ball range is not going to happen again. But like they are just forced into minutes. And in NBA DFS, what's king? Everyone knows it. It's minutes. Yeah, I'm just not touching points right now. Aiden over fantasy points. Did they drop this one? I don't know if I saw that one. Let's see. That's a decent number right there. I don't know. He's going against the defensive MVP in Brook Lopez tonight. Little jokes there. And the MVP as well. Most of you guys know I'm a Bucks fan, so teasing there. This actually is a pretty appealing line. The issue is obviously it's a much more difficult matchup tonight against Milwaukee than it was against Golden State, Sacramento, and even the Thunder for that matter. Like those would be 3 matchups in which we'd be loading up centers against. We're not exactly doing that against Milwaukee. I'm actually very curious. Obviously, Giannis has been a little bit banged up. Is Giannis going to get a full run? That's my biggest worry. I did like Banchero earlier, points and rebounds. Let's see here. Let's see if they're still there. So still not terrible. I guess you could do rebounds instead if you just wanted to do that. I'd be fine with that going against the Spurs. If that's the one that you're seeing, I'm fine with that. We're good with that. Yeah, it's more of a matchup thing. Love the chats going here, guys. That's pretty awesome. And once again, that's just got a good community here going. I appreciate that. I think everyone else does as well. Blowout in Washington, man. Hey, it could be. Let's look at the games again. The game over and unders real quick. There isn't a single game that is projected to be a blowout except for that game. I mean, if it's a blowout, let's try to prepare for that real quick. What would we be doing? This is where I actually don't mind doing first half props. Could we do fantasy score? And then, Bradley Beal, first half fantasy score. Maybe it won't be a blowout in the first half. Maybe we just go Porzingis here. That's actually crazy. No, Porzingis struggles too. What the heck? I know Kyle Kuzma's out, so they should be able to get there. All right. Maybe it's a second half blowout. That is interesting. Wow. So Monte Morris, he's going to be the stud in the first half. Maybe. I mean, with Kyle Kuzma out, obviously not as bad. Interesting there. So to me, even though that game's a blowout, it's just very small sample size, last 5 games. I don't really like looking at that, but if that's going to be true, if Bradley Beal and also Porzingis are going to struggle in the first half, that game should be able to stay close enough for long enough for Detroit players to get there. And even if it does, I'm fine with that because the Detroit Pistons have to get their minutes. So yeah, good question here. Talking about the projections. So yeah, it's pulled in from a bunch of different spots. So I do pay for, some of the information that's coming in. Like the projection minutes, which is really what anchors the data that I have coming in. And then I'm just pulling in the averages from 4 sports books. So it's PointsBet, BetMGM, which kind of sucks sometimes in terms of pulling in data, FanDuel, and DraftKings Sportsbook. So DraftKings kind of the king because they're normally the fastest in getting the odds updated throughout the day. And when they do update their odds, they're typically a little bit faster in terms of pulling in the data. So that's where I'm getting that from. And then it's just, I pull in averages right now. I would love to do per 36 adjustments, but it's a lot of right before lineup lock switches I would have to do. And maybe it's just a morning thing that I do. I don't see, this is the interesting part. So I really don't mind Russell and Anthony Davis. It's just alarming to me that both of them haven't went off in the same night the last 2 games. It's just a little bit alarming. And it seems like a weird night in which I like both Russell and AD. Can they both get there? They can. Maybe AD gets ruled out and Russell just goes off. that'd be something. But yeah, I really don't mind either of them. Like if Russell is literally going to be shooting the ball this much and getting that many minutes, really the sky's the limit with him. So I really don't mind it. And then the other one would be like PJ Washington and Nick Richards. Like it's pretty interesting to me. Third Taco Dern. Is it? Don't do that to me. Is it? That it hasn't come out yet. 24 minutes. Oh, that's great. I love that. That'd be awesome. Like 10 points. All right, let's go. We should make them do it. If anyone's in the Discord chat, I'm actually curious as to what they're voting on. So we like Jalen. We did like Jalen Williams earlier. We could still bet it. It's just they bumped it up 1. I also like Nick Claxton earlier. And so I'll pull up these bets. I know these comments are a little bit late, but I like PJ Washington. I'm someone that I'll very much roll with players until they let me down twice. Like PJ Washington has really been a stud. I think it's like 6 out of the past 7 slates probably been on him and he's been over. And it doesn't seem like, based off of the situation right now with Cleveland, with Jared Allen being out, that he should be hindered in production too much. Yeah, so this is one of the better bets we're getting, seemingly. Obviously, with the matchup against Detroit, it does make sense. So I thought Spencer Dinwiddie was at 36 earlier today as well for fantasy points. And I could just be obviously looking at a lot of data throughout the day. But that could have got bumped as well. I actually want to look that up on my phone here real quick. Because I know I did a little stack earlier today. Yeah, this got bumped as well. Oh, that's so frustrating. It really is. I thought it was fishy when I was doing this video. I really wish I could, like, they would give us a time period as to when certain props would come out, like fantasy score and whatnot, when there's not injury news. I get it, like, what there is injury news that changes the slate and whatnot, but it'd have been nice to have done the video earlier this morning when the Claxton props came out, when the Dinwiddie prop came out, when they were a point lower, when Jalen Williams was a point lower. Still not terrible, but it does seem like they gave him the bump because there's a high volume in bets because, well, they were too low. LeVert over 3 is probably not doing that. We always think the taco hits. That is literally just the assumption that we should have. Only 2 of them had missed thus far this season. And I would say that's probably due to regress. Like, that is pretty crazy. To only have 2 of them miss, that's due to regress eventually. Hasn't happened yet. There's going to be a day in which, like, someone gets injured. Hopefully it's in the NBA where we get a reboot. And then, like, someone else doesn't get the over. Like, we're 1 out of 3 hits. Maybe. But we always just take that taco. In the long term, it's just the way to go. Okay. So I'm trying to catch up. We do have some just chat going on, which is awesome. Let's see. Oroku. This is interesting. I did find this interesting. Because to me, in a matchup against Charlotte, should be able to get there. Let's see his minutes. Like, his minutes have been there consistently. 1 for 4, not the best. Had 5 personal fouls. That's why he didn't get there. So if he doesn't get a lot of fouls, sure. Not terrible. And guys, did you see how many fouls Horton Tucker got last night? It was like 6 fouls, not 6 fouls, like 5 fouls and like a bunch of turnovers. That was annoying. Yeah, those are pretty awesome with the hockey props here. Just highlighting those again. We got a couple of those in there already. Fred over 8 assists. Once again, I'm fine with this. I know a lot of people have success with this. I kind of like betting 0.5 props. You know, when it's not even. Look at that. They bumped it up to 8.5. Interesting. But I don't want to have a push, really. I just want it to be cash or not cash. Let's see. So yeah, Jalen Williams again. I don't mind it. It's just it's a 1 point difference now, and I don't know. It's a mental block as well. Just like I know I had it at a better one. It's tough. Giannis, lock it in. Yeah. I mean, if we knew for sure that, and I don't think they'd be playing. Like, why would they be playing him if he wasn't going to play a full allotment of his minutes, right? But there is that worry there. Just late season NBA DFS, some weird stuff happens. And so it wouldn't be surprising to see him get less points. Yeah, this was a lucky one right here, was the Garland at 21.5. That was pretty awesome. I think this is like the 3rd one that we got for Killian Hayes for free throws. A lot of people are questioning Jalen Williams. Then we got the Trey Murphy. All right, we're catching up. This is an interesting one there. Ethan calling out for Jakob Poeltl over 15.5 points and assists. And that's the thing. Let's just pull up Jakob Poeltl as well. You guys know I love me some Jakob Poeltl. Interesting. I would go as far as to say you could also do just assist then at that point. Let's see the status on Gary Harris. Do we have a confirmed lineup? We don't. Gary Harris is expected to play. It's Wagner that we're wondering about. And so this is something that could maybe set an alarm for I don't know, half an hour before the Orlando game. Because as Wagner sits, Banchero becomes better, Carter becomes better. Let's just see Carter here real quick as well. Like against the Spurs, it's not terrible. But the other Wagner would be a decent one as well, because he could slot into some minutes there. Probably just staying away. Yeah, Jalen Williams. I really don't mind a Jalen Williams prop, to be honest with you. It's just at some point he's due to have a bad game. It doesn't seem like it should be tonight. Yeah, I like 80 over fantasy points here. The Rando one, personally, I'd liked. Let's see some of these props here that we're talking about real quick. I know my internet's hating me right now, so we'll see if this is working. Not exactly the best projection-wise, but he is slightly favored over. Actually, under. So, no, probably just staying away from this one, to be honest with you. If you like that one. Oh, you did say under. My bad. Small text. Yeah, you could do under there. I don't mind that. And then RJ Barrett over 30. Yeah. His usage rate, like just with Jalen Brunson off the court, definitely an interesting play. So just kind of looking at it. RJ Barrett with Jalen Brunson off the court averages 22.3 points per 36, 6 rebounds, 3.4 assists, and 33 fantasy points per 36. And he gets about 29.8% usage, which is a bump of about 5%. So not bad. And like quickly is awesome, we know. But he is someone that's too like hit or miss. And that's when I was talking about teasing, I wish we could do that with someone like Quickly, because like if we could do 40 for his fantasy score, I'd be fine with that. We're getting a much better payout if we were to do that. Because he's so hit or miss. Like it seems like it's either he's going to be massively under or really over. And so looking at RJ Barrett, points, rebounds, and assists. Let's see here. He's going to be slightly under projection-wise, but they are favoring the over a little bit. And it's about a push just based off the odds. So looking at the averages, we kind of know why. I already mentioned with Jalen Brunson on the court, obviously that switches a little bit. So I don't mind that one. So a lot of people are liking Giannis fantasy points. I don't mind Giannis fantasy points. It is a pretty good one that we're getting on the day. This is interesting. Does anyone actually know this? I know this is about 16 minutes ago. Do the Wizards actually draw a lot of fouls? Could be something to monitor. That's not a data point that I have. Is he still at... Okay, so he's still at 22.5. I still don't mind this one then. Let's see. Yeah, it still isn't bad against OKC. That's very interesting there. Let's see if the odds adjusted throughout the day. And then once I get caught up to the comments, so if you guys don't want me to stop going live, just keep commenting. I'm kidding. I got to get off pretty soon here. Once I get caught up, I'll probably be jumping off here shortly. No, we're still getting a pretty good line there on him. Much more of a push now, but still pretty good there for Cam Johnson. Oh, man, I'm not touching KCP. If you like it, that's fine. I don't know. I do not do well with KCP. And same thing with Chris Paul. I do not like touching Chris Paul. Apologies. I wish I could give you guys more than that. I just do not have a good feel for them. Siakam under fantasy points. I just don't like these teams that go deep where anyone can go off. Like we already mentioned Jakob Poeltl a lot. We've mentioned Fred VanVleet a lot. it seems like anyone could go off on any night for Toronto. Personally, I see that he's kind of been struggling lately, and obviously it's because Jakob Poeltl's there. I'm going to pull up that data point here. What is the difference in fantasy production? Like with Bam and Kevin Love, Bam's been much worse fantasy point wise with Kevin Love on the court. I'm actually curious with Jakob Poeltl on the court, how much does Pascal Siakam's fantasy points go down? Let's see. Five fantasy points. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't like touching Denver right now. It's a simple take, but too many mouths to feed. Interesting thoughts on Bradley Beal? Let's see here. We don't have 3, so Aaron liked the 1.5 blocks and steals a lot better. See what his numbers are per 36 with Kyle Kuzma off the court. About 1.3 steals, 0.8 blocks. So let me just pull this one up on here real quick. And guys, if you're new to the channel, definitely make sure to like this video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. I don't get that many. Basically, going live doesn't help my channel out at all. It actually hurts it. So I think that's because just people aren't subscribing that's new watching or liking the video. Which, whatever. Honestly, I'm here to help you guys out. But if you want to do that, and help out the channel, that's fine as well. So they do have it at an even push. So probably not going too crazy on that. Wiseman, 0.5 blocks. Let's take a peek. Is that on DraftKings Sportsbook there? $230. And so that's, I mean, I wouldn't mind over 1.5 blocks and steals. Good point. Third taco is going to be NHL. I mean, you're right. Typically, it's the second taco that is the NHL. All right, so I'm going to be finishing up here shortly, guys. Just trying to get caught up. Jokic did not pop at all today. Now, that's not to say that when I get done and update the odds and whatnot, that's not going to change. But just as it was right now, he wasn't. Let's see. No, anytime, especially for something like this, when there's an even push for a prop, I don't like touching it. So I'll pull this up here. I don't like touching it when it's an even prop. It's kind of as simple as that. Lopez is on the board. What? All right. Lock it up. Actually, really? Is it really 31.5 for Brook Lopez again? What? Why? Oh, what are they doing to us? This is frustrating. It really is. With PJ Washington, even Claxton a little bit. Jakob Poeltl actually got a correct bump. Zach Collins not getting the bump. It's kind of frustrating that they're not giving us the bump because it starts to feel like a trap. I'm going to do it. I'm going to bet over here as well. Actually, that's real quick, and then I'll really be getting out of here really soon. And apologies if I wasn't able to get to anyone's questions as the video has progressed. Lots of comments, and I appreciate that. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome group we got going. I want to see Brook Lopez on back-to-backs, in the back end of a back-to-back. From what I remember, it's not too bad. 27 minutes against Washington. Maybe there's something there. Let's see. Any other games? Same minutes there. Slightly less minutes here. Same minutes. More minutes. Okay, so yeah, I think we can continue to roll with him. Now, obviously, DeAndre Ayton's probably the one that we're worried about the most. Okay, so a lot of people that came in and now said Batherson. I think this is like 6 people. We might just have to add this one in here, and then that'll be the last one probably for the day that we're adding in there for an NHL prop. Minus 135 there. Let me just see on my other screen here real quick. Huh. No, I don't know. Looking at the other odds that I'm pulling in, just on a different screen, they're saying it's closer to minus 125 on average. I don't know. A lot of people said it, though. Dennis Smith. I don't think we got those yet for him, do we? Dennis Smith? I know you're saying on DraftKings, but I'm just wondering about PrizePicks. Yeah, no. Where's my Duran prop? All right. So, guys, I apologize. I can't get to all the questions. I do got to get out of here. Been going on an hour and a half. Pretty awesome. You're messing with her. Yes, they are. It sucks. Honestly, like, this sucks. Like, we kind of just have to, it seems like. Lopez to the moon for a third taco. I honestly hate that we have to do it. It's just too low. Add it in here. That's going to be the last one. Over. You got to add over there. All right. So that's kind of what the board is looking like for today. We really just went through the process and found the most favorable bets. Hopefully they hit. If I see anyone's probably after this video, I'll try to put it in the Discord chat first. For anyone that's watching, that's a separate thing. It's not free. I keep it for members only. Just take the noise out. It's not anything that I don't sell picks or anything like that. I've made that very clear. It's just when there's a prop that we know is going to be gone in 2 minutes or 5 minutes. It's the quickest and easiest avenue that I have. But I'll try to put some in the comment section if there's any more that pop up before lock. Once the Jalen Duran one, it's going to be like over 31 fantasy points now if we get it. But if we get that, I might put that out there. All right. But yeah, that's all, guys. Appreciate it. Very awesome video today. Appreciate all you guys. Let's have a good slate. Hopefully we can cash. And only 9 likes. See, that's why, like, I don't ask for the likes, so I get why the videos don't get that many likes. But if you're good, it does help out the channel. But that's all. Good luck today, guys. Hopefully we have some good tacos. Already got lucky earlier this morning. Hopefully we get with the Darius Garland one, obviously, but hopefully we get lucky as well throughout the night. Thanks for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.